Hi, my name is Robert Shelley with Shelley Law, and I'm an attorney that assists nurse practitioners with employment contract and independent contractor agreement issues. Today I'm going to talk about RVU compensation for a nurse practitioner. So first we'll just kind of go over the basics and then get into some numbers. RVUs are relative value units. It's a kind of unit of measurement to determine the value of care provided by the Center for Medicare Services, CMS. And there are three types of RVUs, but the kind of section that matters the most for nurse practitioners are work RVUs. And so those are relative value units for personally performed services by the nurse practitioner. And so the amount of RVUs generated per encounter is determined based upon the acuity of the case and the length of time needed for whatever the encounter was. So higher acuity case, the longer amount of time you're with the patient, the more RVUs you're going to generate. Now, most nurse practitioners who are in private practice of some kind, either you're in a state where you can establish your own practice and you're autonomous, or perhaps you work with a smaller physician-owned group, most of the time the compensation in those settings will not be RVU-based. The setting where RVUs are used for nurse practitioners, I guess more often would be in a hospital or a healthcare network, something like that. But if you're working for a private-owned physician group, usually you'll just get a straight base salary or perhaps some kind of net collections based agreement where you get a percentage of all the money the practice collects on your behalf, but it's infrequent that a private practice would use work RVUs as a measurement to compensate a nurse practitioner. Now, as far as numbers go, in my opinion, they're not great as far as sample sizes throughout the country. Obviously, you have some of the bigger services that collect surveys and data based upon average compensation for nurse practitioners throughout the country in different geographic regions. But the RVUs are, I guess, based upon kind of what specialty you're working in. The actual value of the RVU, meaning how much RVUs you generate per encounter, that's fixed by CMS. The compensation factor, that can vary based upon organization. So how you would get paid in a pure RVU productivity model is you just multiply the RVUs you generate, either, monthly, quarterly, yearly, however they want to do it. And you multiply that times a compensation factor, and that is a monetary value, and that is generally based upon specialty. Now, kind of the average RVU compensation for all nurse practitioners averaged out across all specialties is around $45 per RVU. Now, once again, I don't think these are numbers that you should completely stick to when negotiating an agreement, or perhaps if you're trying to determine if something is fair or not. The nurse practitioners in the hospital environment tend to generate much less per year than those in private practice, but the compensation factor for those in a hospital is much higher than it is in private practice. Obviously, because generally the higher acuity cases are obviously going to be in the hospital, whereas lower acuity, FMP type stuff will be in a clinic setting. So if you're trying to determine whether the compensation based upon RVUs is fair for you as a nurse practitioner, you need to go to some of the sources, MGMA. There are others out there. I would just Google them and try to go to the AAMP. Usually they have some pretty solid numbers as far as what's reasonable. Any kind of healthcare attorney who's reviewing contracts should have access to that data as well. And then I'll kind of give you an idea of whether you're being fairly compensated or not. Now, I don't put compensation as the only factor in determining whether an offer or job opportunity is worth it, but obviously it's important for most everyone to make sure they're being adequately compensated. So that's a little primer on RVUs for nurse practitioners. If you have any questions about your employment contract or independent contractor agreement, feel free to contact my law firm at the contact information listed below in the description, or you can leave any questions in the comment section. I'm happy to answer them. Appreciate your watching video. Thanks.